As a combat veteran, I know the cost of war. Tulsi Gabbard. Here are the 25 most expensive wars in history. 25. War on Terror. Including the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, this fight has cost the nations involved a significant amount. In fact, in pure dollar terms, some economists have argued that it's one of the most expensive wars to date. It cost the US alone more than $1.6 trillion through 2010. 24. Mexican Revolution. Involving several sides, this armed conflict has been characterized as one of the greatest upheavals of the 20th century. 23. Panthay Rebellion. The rebellion of Hui people in China had far-reaching effects that rippled throughout the entire region and crippled economies not just locally, but also in neighboring nations. 22. Gallic Wars. Fought by Julius Caesar, these wars included several costly military campaigns that led to Caesar becoming the sole ruler of the Roman Republic. 21. American Civil War. This was hands down the costliest war ever fought on the continent of North America. In pure monetary terms, it cost the modern equivalent of $80 billion. 20. Cold War. Including the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and even the space race, the Cold War was a vast and extremely costly period of armament and conflict that cost numerous nations quite a lot in the areas of defense and espionage. To give some hard numbers, the US spent $738 billion in 2014 dollars on the Vietnam War and $341 billion in 2014 dollars on the Korean War. 19. Sudanese Civil War. Disease, famine, and displacement are still felt today from this civil war that lasted for nearly half of the 20th century. In terms of 2014 dollars, the last 10 years of war has been estimated to cost the country of Sudan over $100 billion. 18. Nigerian Civil War. Leading to massive famines and destruction of infrastructure, the Nigerian Civil War drew in numerous international players, including the United States and the Soviet Union. The pure financial cost has been estimated to be somewhere in the billions of dollars. 17. Shaka's Conquests. Shaka has been largely credited as a military genius for revolutionizing the way the Zulu kingdom fought their battles. Although he managed to make the Zulus the most powerful tribe in southern Africa, he did so with an iron fist, and brutal warfare was one of his trademarks. The effect of his military campaign on the political and social structure is still seen today. 16. The 100 Years' War. The most notable conflict of the Middle Ages saw 5 generations vie for rule in Europe. 15. War in Afghanistan. This doesn't only include the War on Terror. This goes all the way back to 1978 when the fighting in Afghanistan started during the Saur Revolution. Since then, the parties involved have changed, but there has been no peace, and the level of destruction has been quite extensive for everyone involved. 14. 30 Years' War. Actually a series of wars during the 1600s, this was one of the most destructive periods in the history of Europe prior to the 19th century. In fact, the war bankrupted almost all the belligerents, and soldiers were eventually expected to fund themselves by looting. 13. Yellow Turban Rebellion. This Chinese peasant revolt against the Han Dynasty took over 2 decades to suppress, and got its name from the color of the cloths that rebels wore on their heads. 12. Second Congo War. Known as the African World War, this was the largest, deadliest, and most destructive conflict ever fought on African soil. 11. Chinese Civil War. Ending in the creation of 2 Chinas, mainland China and Taiwan both claim to be the legitimate China, this civil war hasn't technically ended yet, as no peace treaty has been signed. In purely financial terms, the war cost over $600 billion in 2014 dollars. 10. Napoleonic Wars. Pitting France against the rest of Europe, these wars played out on an unprecedented scale and completely revolutionized modern warfare. 9. Russian Civil War. With a Red Army, White Army, Green Army, and about 8 foreign nations involved, this civil war rode in on the coattails of the Russian Revolution and led straight into several other wars of independence. It was basically a very bloody, very destructive period in Russia's history. 8. Ming-Qing Transition. When the Qing dynasty moved to overtake the Ming dynasty, the price was catastrophically high. 7. An-Lushan Rebellion. Lasting for the course of nearly 3 generations in the 700s, this rebellion had far-reaching consequences for the nation of China. 6. Conquests of Tamerlane. It was not mere coincidence that Tamerlane, the Turco-Mongol conqueror, basically reenacted what Genghis Khan did several centuries earlier. Genghis Khan was his hero, and although it's hard to say whether Tamerlane's conquests were more or less destructive, it's really just splitting hairs. 5. Three Kingdoms. In pure terms of human life, the only conflict more costly than the Three Kingdoms period of China was World War II. 4. Taiping Rebellion. This Chinese Civil War was one of Asia's most extensive conflicts, and also one of the first instances of total war in modern times. Every single man, woman, and child was conscripted to fight, which technically means there were no such things as civilians. Not surprisingly, the level of destruction was horrifying. 3. Mongol Conquests. Although the Mongol Conquests are extremely hard to label with a price tag, 2 things are for sure. 1. The death toll was very high, and 2. The damage to land and property was extensive. 2. World War I. There was only one war more costly than World War I, and that was World War II. To give you some insight, America spent the modern equivalent of $334 billion during World War I. 1. World War II. Considering the fact that much of Europe was completely decimated, it's hard to estimate the total cost of the war. Without a doubt, it was the most costly conflict in world history though. Once again, to give you some hard numbers, America spent the modern equivalent of $4.104 trillion during World War II. That's over 12 times as much as during World War I. If you want to learn more about the true cost of war, be sure to check out our friend Thoughty2's video, How Much Does War Cost? And don't forget to help us consistently conciliate curiosity by liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting.